It's a very serious matter, serious in the location and serious for the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry.
Prince Harry is, in this moment, in the board of directors of African Parks. What we are expecting from him is to step down of this organization.
I'm quite sure he will be appalled by these revelations and will be considering his position very closely.
Prince Harry has found himself at the centre of a media storm in recent days due to his involvement as a board member of African Parks, a non-profit conservation organisation which aims to protect Africa's national parks and advance wildlife conservation around the world. It's been alleged that rangers employed by the company have committed a number of human rights abuses, including the rape and torture of indigenous people in the Republic of Congo. The disturbing revelations were first brought to Prince Harry's attention by campaigners Survival International in May last year, who wrote a letter to the then president flagging concerns the local Baka people were being violently abused by people employed by the charity. Prince Harry responded with a promise to escalate the concerns with senior members of the charity. However, since then, there has been no further correspondence with the prince, leading Survival International to go public and ask for Harry to step down from his position with African Parks.
It's a very serious matter, serious in the location and serious for the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, because he has closely aligned himself with an organisation working in Africa, in African Parks, to give it its name, which does employ a militia. And there seems to be very serious evidence of abuses being carried out by members of this militia. Whether that is unknown to the management of African Parks or not is not quite clear, but quite seriously and clearly these abuses have taken place. They are very, very serious allegations. There are serious allegations of brutality, people being held underwater, brutalized, a young mother being raped. These are atrocities that have taken place at the hands of militia, people who are appointed by Africa Parks. Their job, presumably, is to safeguard the animal life in the areas which Animal Parks says it's responsible for. But quite clearly, activities of this kind are criminal, reprehensible, and should be condemned and punished. So it's a very unfortunate state of affairs. And by associating himself with that organization, Prince Harry, of course, comes under scrutiny. It should be said right from the outset that he has absolutely no direct responsibility for what may have gone on in the field. But the fact that it's happened and has been brought to light by Survival International, a very reputable organization that has worked for many years in Africa, is something which obviously has brought the matter to his attention. And that's why he's been asked to stand down or separate himself or sever his connections with Africa Parks.
We first raised the issue of human rights abuses, specifically happening around Ojala National Park in 2013. Then we spoke with them again in 2014, so the year after. By 2017, we published a report about different abuses happening at the hands of guards, both paid by WWF and also by African Parks. So it's public. And then again in 2023, we raised the issues of human rights abuses happening in Ojala. It's at that point that we, in this time, we did it through a letter to the Prince Harry, because at that time he was the president of African Parks. And he replied to us quite soon after, on the 12th June, showing concerns about the abuses and then telling us to contact or putting us in contact with the CEO of African Parks, what we did. At that point, from that point after, we just engaged with the CEO of African Parks, who, as they are doing now publicly, simply kept repeating that we needed to provide more information. What we are reporting are first-hand testimonies that we ourselves collect during our field work. So I think this is very important to say. It's not someone else who told us. We directly heard from the victims of these abuses. And we are talking about a general, so we saw also in the Daily Mail, a general level of atrocities that go from rape. We documented the rape of a woman, sexual abuse of a very young Baka boy. We also documented men whose heads were pulled into the water so they couldn't breathe. We also documented men who were burnt with hot wax, and then whipped on the places where the wax had burned them. But I think that these atrocities, which are of course atrocities that are horrible, are not the only problem that African parks, and not only African parks, are actually creating. When the protected areas are created, indigenous peoples are evicted. And when park rangers arrived, they are stopping the indigenous peoples, in this case, the Baka, to enter the forest. The Baka are hunter-gatherers, and they need that forest for hunting, for collecting medicinal plants, for doing the rituals. So all the life of these hunter-gatherers is totally connected to the forest. So by banning them from the forest, what African parks is doing is condemned these people to starvation, and the Baka are being treated as people. And I think that this is something that we in survival is for us is very important. Is the existence of the Baka as people that in this moment is in danger because of the parks of this park of African park. So I think that we should look at the wider context and understand that what is happening today in the name of conservation is terrible human rights abuses and violations, but also a threat to the existence of indigenous peoples as peoples.
Africa is very much in Prince Harry's heart. He loves the continent, he loves the people, he loves to be there. It's central to him, and this is not the only good cause that he supports in Africa. And he's made it clear that he sees part of his path in the continent. It's not a good look for him to be associated with an organization that is ultimately responsible for the people that it employs and how they discharge their duties or don't discharge their duties in this case, because they've been brutalizing people, it is alleged, raping and seriously injuring innocent people living in the area of these protected parts of the continent. So it's not a good time for him. He should look at it very carefully. Perhaps he should sever his links with this particular organization, while at the same time, of course, renewing his commitment to what goes on in Africa, which of course is I think the second most populous continent on the face of the earth, and is going to become an increasingly important part of our world.
Prince Harry is, in this moment, in the board of directors, which is very important. It's the governing body of African parks. So what we are expecting from him is to step down of this organization. Why? Because we truly believe that conservation organizations, and we have seen it in our own experience, conservation organizations only change when they are pushed by public opinion. So we think that Harry stepping down can give a clear signal to the conservation industry saying human rights abuses in the name of conservation are not tolerated. We hope that Prince Harry and the funders of conservation actually take some action. A real change can actually happen from a political level, from a structure. So if funders stop giving money to projects when human rights violations are happening, this can create a huge change. Prince Harry, in this case, is not a funder, but he is a kind of celebrity. He's an influencer. He has been campaigning for social justice and racial justice and other issues. And we think that he cannot be giving his name to an organization that is responsible for human rights atrocities. And we think that he can really give a clear signal. For us, this is very important. The message is very important. By him stepping down, as he is so famous and he's an influencer, he can really make a difference on the ground for the people, for the Baka.
This is a problem that must be grabbed by the scruff of the neck He must talk to the people who are directly responsible for the administration of this Africa Parks, find out what the facts are, find out what they intend to do about it, find out how they're going to remedy it, and find out how they're going to help the people who have quite clearly been badly brutalized, raped, and injured by these members of the militia, which are employed by Africa Parks. That's the first thing he should do. It's not his responsibility. He cannot be blamed in any way. He's gone into this with a good heart and with the best of intentions. But if people who are able to use his name to further their cause, to raise funds, are not administering their work properly, he should then quickly take steps to distance himself and sever ties.
Responding to the reports, African Park said it had a zero-tolerance policy for any forms of abuse. We are aware of the serious allegations regarding human rights abuses by eco-guards against local people living adjacent to Otsala-Kokoa National Park in the Republic of Congo, which have recently received media attention. We became aware of these allegations last year via a board member who received a letter from Survival International. We immediately launched an investigation through an external law firm based on the information we had available, while also urging Survival International to provide any and all the facts they had. It's unfortunate that they have chosen not to cooperate, despite repeated requests, and we continue to ask for their assistance. It added that the active investigation will be our highest priority as an organisation.
I think it's quite shameful that an organization with the resources the African parks have are blaming the lack of information coming from Survival International for the crimes that are and the human rights abuses committed by his park rangers in the park they manage. As I said, and I keep repeating, we have been contacting them since 2013. That is 11 years ago. They have at this point enough information to act. They didn't do it, and they won't do it unless there is public pressure on them. And what is happening, it's clear. They not done absolutely any change on the ground since 2013. Then, as I said, we contacted them again 2014. There was a report 2017. There was a US top official who raised the issues with them in 2020, and it's still nothing. It was only when they have public attention on them that they decided to react. What I would really like to tell to Prince Harry is that we know there is an ongoing biodiversity and climate crisis, and we absolutely need a change in the model of conservation in order to protect our planet. We know that indigenous peoples are the best guardians of the world, and we need to support them, not African parks. We need to do everything we can to recognize and respect indigenous people's rights. So I will pray him to, and I think that in this, I am with the BACA, to step down as in his role of board member of African parks and join the fight for indigenous people's rights instead.
I'm quite sure that Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, has gone into this with a good heart and with very good intentions. Africa is very close to his heart. He says, and has been on the record several times as saying he feels happiest when he's in Africa. And it's significant that even before they married, he was taking Meghan Markle to Africa on various safaris and jaunts because he feels so at home there. So I'm quite sure he will be appalled by these revelations and will be considering his position very closely.